David Yamamoto. Today is Tuesday, July 12th, 2022, and we will call this community update to order at 8 a.m. sharp. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak. Again, pressing *6. It is very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you. So I want to welcome everyone to our weekly Tuesday morning community update call. Let's go through our commissioner's roll call. Commissioner Scar, are you with us?
Good morning, I am.
Good morning. And Commissioner Bell?
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. So let's jump right into our agenda. Adventist Health Tillamook, Eric Swanson. Eric, are you with us?
I am. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
We have 12 patients in the hospital today, plus 3 brand new babies. Surgery has 10 surgery cases scheduled today. All are elective or non-urgent. Yesterday, our ambulance crews transported 7 911 calls, 1 transfer, and 3 transports home. The number of hospitalized patients with COVID-19 across Oregon is 423, 2 less than yesterday. 59 COVID-19 patients in intensive care unit beds, 1 more than yesterday, 18 are on ventilators. There were 4,292 emergency department visits across Oregon yesterday, and 5.2% of them were for COVID-like illness. Today, there's 25 available adult ICU beds out of 326. That's 8% for Region 1, and 209 available adult non-ICU beds out of 1,935, so that's 11% availability, and we haven't seen that many available beds in a while. We do not have any COVID patients admitted to the hospital today, which is great news. Last Thursday, we had a problem with the main sewer line coming out of the hospital, and we found a break in it. And so I apologize to any of our patients and visitors who were inconvenienced on Friday and Saturday morning while the work was being done to repair the sewer line. It is a bad day when you can't flush the toilet in a hospital. And I just want to say thank you to Christensen's Plumbing, Lovett Excavation, and the City of Tillamook, who all came together on very, very short notice and quickly repaired that sewer line, got us back in business and with minimal interruption. They are amazing people. And so I just want to say thank you to all of them. And so unless you have questions, that's what I've got for you today.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions for Eric Swanson? Just a shout out to the 3 new babies and their families in Tillamook County. I think that's wonderful.
Yep, we just love that. I just love having new babies in our hospital. So congratulations to those new parents.
Thank you for being with us, Eric. Let's move on to the Coastal Caucus. I'm not sure who we have on. I did hear Representative Weber.
Well, Commissioners, if I may, David Gomberg here, and if I could go first, since I've got a meeting about 40 miles down the road and need to get going in just a couple of minutes.
Please,
I want to say good morning to you and good morning to all of your listeners this morning. Again, David Gomberg from House District 10, Southern Tillamook County. Oregon was the very first state that allowed voters to enact their own laws rather than relying on the legislature. If voters proposed a change and collected enough signatures, they could put it on the ballot and it would be voted on across the state. That came to be known as the Oregon Plan. We just think of it as the initiative petition process. This year in Oregon, 15 different proposals were submitted to the Secretary of State. Most of them fell by the wayside pretty quickly for technical reasons or because they didn't meet the criteria to even be considered and start collecting signatures, or because they didn't have the resources to go out and get all those signatures to put an issue on the ballot. But there are 2 petitions that now appear to have collected enough signatures to be voted on in November, and I just wanted to give you a quick heads up on what those 2 are. The first is IP14, that's Initiative Petition 14, which tries to address the fact that in recent years, some legislators who were unhappy with votes that were coming up to be considered decided to leave the building rather than stay and vote on them. Under the Oregon Constitution, we have a quorum requirement. 2/3 of the members need to be present. So if 1/3 leave, nothing happens. And we actually had a legislative session, 2019, where not a single bill passed because of walkouts. Now, I'm not going to get into who did the walkouts, why, or which party is involved in which way. I'm simply going to say that a group came forward this year, collected enough signatures for a constitutional amendment that said that if you miss more than 10 days of the legislature, if you have 10 unexcused absences, that you're not allowed to run for re-election. That is, that you give up your seat. The group that brought this forward used paid petition gatherers. They spent about $1.4 million to gather enough signatures to make this constitutional change. And so that will be on the ballot this November. By contrast, we have another group that was supporting Initiative Petition 17, and they used volunteers rather than paid petition gatherers and collected enough signatures to put an issue on the ballot dealing with firearms. Essentially, this measure would say that we're going to limit large magazines to 10 rounds rather than allowing larger magazines, and that we're going to require people who want to buy a firearm to get a permit to do so, and not just a background check. So there's a lot in this measure. Those are two of the higher profile aspects of it. I'm sure that there will be strong feelings about this pro and con as we move forward toward November, but know again that that will be voted on in all likelihood. They've submitted more than enough signatures to qualify. And whether you support or oppose that particular measure, I do want to congratulate the organizers that used volunteers rather than paid petition gatherers. I think that's the way the process ought to work, rather than simply saying that if you've got enough money to hire people to go out and collect signatures, that you can put something on the ballot. So those two measures are going forward, proposed by the people of Oregon. In addition, there will be two measures proposed by the legislature for constitutional changes. You know, the legislature can write laws, but they can't change the Constitution of Oregon without the voters of Oregon approving those steps. And there are two changes that are being proposed by the legislature. One is somewhat aspirational. It says that every Oregonian is entitled to health care. That's either physical health or behavioral health. Excuse the background noise here. That every Oregonian is entitled to health care, and they're going to put that on the ballot to have Oregonians vote on whether they agree with that concept. At this point, I think many of you are saying, well, that's all well and good, but how do you pay to provide health care to every single Oregonian? And the answer is that this proposal we're voting on is not enforceable. It simply says we think it's a good idea. Now, you might say, why are we spending time to put symbolic statements like that into our Constitution? I'll just simply say that there are already a number of symbolic statements in our Constitution. The second proposal from the legislature, you might say, is symbolic because we propose to remove from the Constitution, remove language that currently says that Oregon will allow slavery or involuntary servitude within the state. And boy, take a minute and think about that. Yes, our Constitution still allows slavery, and the Oregon legislature wants to take that wording out. So that will be on your November ballot as well. So four things that will be on the ballot that are issue-oriented. Of course, there'll be plenty of candidates on the ballot, and we've got about 4 months to go, so you can expect to see your mailbox full of pictures of smiling faces of lots of people that want you to vote for them, or sadly, an occasional mailer saying that their opponent is the worst person in the world. The election season is about to get underway. And I just wanted to use that as a segue to the last thing I wanted to share with all of you this morning. Today is, or would have been, the 100th anniversary of Mark Hatfield's birth. U.S. Senator Mark Hatfield, Oregon Governor Mark Hatfield would have been 100 years old today. Happy birthday to him. Here's a great example of a statesman who worked for the betterment of the state, not for the betterment of the party. Applied their values even when there was great cost to doing so. Served Oregon so very well. He was our youngest governor ever elected at age 35. Served, I believe, 5 terms in the U.S. Senate, which means 30 years. And the Oregon Historical Society is releasing a number of oral histories, interviews with people that worked for him or worked with him. Those are online now, and today, his birthday, they're going to be releasing an oral history and a series of recordings they did with the senator himself. I think that's well worth a listen to see what a statesman might have to say and might have said in our current circumstances where we seem so terribly divided. I think Mark Hatfield was a great example for all of us. On his passing, President Bill Clinton said, "Here's a man who treated everybody like friends and no one like enemies, and as a consequence of that, had no enemies." Wish we had more statesmen like that in both parties these days. So, commissioners, those are my brief reports for this morning. Thank you for letting me jump in first, and I'll be happy to turn the remaining time over to Representative Weber.
Thank you, Representative Gumberg. Before you leave, I just want to say thank you so much for the invitation on Thursday evening to address the Coastal Caucus. You were the chair of the Coastal Caucus. I think it went really well, and again, I appreciate the time very much.
Anytime, Commissioner. Very glad to have you. And, I might mention that we were there talking about forest practices, but as you know, there were a series of hearings in Tillamook County, or I should say public meetings in Tillamook County over the last few weeks talking about another cable landing south of Pacific City. There's an interesting story about that process in Willamette Week this week, talking about the difference between how Amazon is handling this proposal and how things went with Facebook last time. And your listeners might want to look that up on Willamette Week and take a quick read.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's like night and day the way they're approaching the communities. Again, thank you so much for what you do. Okay, Representative Weber, I think you are on. I'm not sure if we have anybody else, but you are lined up, so please.
Am I on mute?
No, I hear you loud and clear.
Well, I'll tell you that Representative Gomberg did an excellent job. He stole a lot of my thunder this morning because I also wanted to address the issue with the Coastal Caucus and how well we as legislators, no matter what letter is after our name, work together to make sure that what happens here is the best for the people who live on the coast. And so I just wanted to highlight that. I think that we work very well together, and I think that we have a lot of commonalities, and we understand the area. So good morning, everyone. I've had a busy week. I'm working with the Coastal Caucus and the Educational Workforce Task Force, working on recruitment, retention, and compensation for educators. And it's a really convoluted issue to make sure that we can have enough teachers and support staff in our schools to be able to educate our children to the best of our ability. And so we will be continuing these meetings into September, and then we will come forward with some recommendations. There are a lot of proposals that are out there concerning compensation, especially for teachers. I have also been meeting with other legislators to discuss what we can conceivably expect coming forward in the legislature that relates to education, beside those three items of recruitment, retention, and compensation. And we've had some very interesting discussions. We don't know exactly yet which bills are coming forward, but we've had some hints from legislators on things that they are proposing. And so we feel that we need to be ahead of the curve and understand what all of the implications are for what legislation is going to be proposed. I'm also working on the Joint Task Force on Disparities in Housing, and we will be meeting this week. They have been having work group meetings for the last 2 weeks, And this Thursday, we will be hearing the results of those work groups. When Rep. Gomberg talked about the initiatives that are going to be on the ballot, I really want people to really analyze what those issues are going to be and how they are going to affect their everyday living. And I don't want people to be influenced completely by groups that feel it's really important for whatever their agenda is and spend a lot of money on lots of glitzy advertisements. I just ask you to please do your research on any of these that are coming forward. And his point on paying people to gather signatures rather than being a volunteer and being committed from our area is a point to be well taken. I don't know, I haven't spoken for a long time about Tillamook County Wellness, and if you are interested in increasing your health, I think you should find the website for Tillamook County Wellness. They are actively working to engage the community, especially community members that are at risk for type 2 diabetes. They have walking groups, they've got exercise programs, they have hints and helps. They are working very hard. And if you are one of those folks that may be at risk for type 2 diabetes, please look into Tillamook County Wellness and how they can help you out. This week, we also had the passing of a community member who, if you were to read his credentials, I think he was involved in every part of service in Tillamook County, and I'm speaking of Tom Wad with Wad's Funeral Home. Of all of the committees, the hospital, the Marie Mills, Kiwanis, every organization that he was involved in, and he was involved throughout his career in making Tillamook community a better place to live and serving the people of the community. And so his funeral is tomorrow, and I think you can get the information online for that. But other than that, I want to thank our county commissioners for all of the additional work that they put in. This is not an 8-to-5 job. Yours is not an 8-to-5 job. And with the constituent issues that I have been dealing with all week, I know that you are dealing with issues that are equal and important to our community members, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you for all of your service. Thank you. So with that, I'll conclude my report today.
Thank you so much, Representative Weber, and I concur with you about Tom Wand. I mean, he was a true scholar and a gentleman, a true statesman for Tillamook County, and he's going to be dearly missed. He really will. So, do we have any other members of our Coastal Caucus? Do we have Senator Armitage or Senator Anderson with us? I don't think so. Okay, let's move on to the Tillamook County Community Health Center. Marlene Putman and or Ed Colson.
Good morning, Commissioner Yamamoto. Ed Colson's here with the Health Department.
Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning, Tillamook County. So for Health Department updates and general announcements here, we just want to let everybody know COVID cases are on the rise. The Oregon Health and Science University's COVID-19 modeling from July 7th shows a rise in COVID-19 cases and related hospitalizations and deaths over the next few weeks due to the spread of Omicron variants BA4 and BA5. By mid-July, at the expected peak, infection rates may be similar to the Omicron wave we had last winter. The model shows BA4 and BA5 began growing in predominance in early May, and the two Omicron subvariants are the most transmissible of the COVID-19 variants so far. We have found cases of both BA4 and BA5 of Omicron in Tillamook County. So to keep yourself safe from COVID-19, please wear a mask in crowded indoor places and stay up to date with all your vaccinations and boosters. Everyone 6 months and older is eligible for an initial series of COVID-19 vaccinations, and everyone 5 and older is eligible for 1 booster. Now, Oregonians aren't required to report positive COVID-19 test results to the state, but OHA estimates that for every positive case that's reported, there are likely 30 others that aren't counted. So with COVID being so widespread, you should assume that if you were in a large crowd this weekend or went into an establishment, you may have been exposed to COVID-19. So we recommend testing yourself 5 to 7 days after attending the event. If you need test kits, they're available still from our county libraries as well as at all of our clinic locations. Home testing kits can also be ordered at covidtest.gov, and then they get delivered to your home via the Postal Service. And then you can also get tested at our healthcare facilities and others throughout the county and local pharmacies. Now for our county data, our weekend case count from the 8th through the 10th was 22. Our 7-day case count from the 3rd through the 9th of July was 75. And over the course of 14 days from June 26th through July 9th, we've had 151. Total cases for the month of July are 87. And total cases to date since March 2020 through July 10th are 4,319. We've had 66 COVID-19 related deaths and 162 hospitalizations. Now, our 7-day test positivity rate from Oregon Health Authority shows that we're at 33.5%. And that goes from July 3rd through the 9th. Now, Public Health is monitoring 5 potential outbreaks, and we have 2 active outbreaks per Oregon Health Authority. So Tillamook County is currently at a high community transmission, and so our health department and public health still strongly encourages people to wear masks in indoor public spaces. But if you are visiting any healthcare setting, masks are still required for patients, visitors, and staff. For our vaccine data, just as an update, once again, we brought out last week that on June 29th, 2022, OHA updated the population estimates from 2020 to 2021 data that comes from Portland State University estimates and the 2020 5-year American Community Survey estimates for state, county, zip code, age, and sex. So this has affected our percentages. So as of July, at the beginning of July here, of those aged 18 years old and older living in Tillamook County, we're at 76.8% have initiated our COVID-19 vaccination and received at least 1 dose. 71% have completed their primary series, and just under 44%, we're at 43.9%, have received an extra dose of COVID-19 vaccine in addition to completing their primary series. If you need additional support for COVID-19, OHA continues to staff their COVID-19 case support line, and that's available by calling 866-917-8881. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, it's staffed by Oregon Health Authority and is closed for the holidays. At that phone number, you can report a positive test result, get more information on isolation guidelines and support, but you can also go online at oregon.gov/positive COVID test and report a positive test result there. If you do test positive for COVID-19, please follow the isolation guidelines to isolate, and that's stay at home from work and away from others for at least 5 days from the start of your symptoms or positive test result if without symptoms. And then you can seek treatment as early as possible if you're at high risk of severe COVID-19 illness. Now, lastly, our vaccination and boosters. Pediatric Moderna and Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines are now approved for use in Oregon for children aged 6 months and older. A 2-dose Moderna series is available to children aged 6 months to under 6 years old. A 3-dose Pfizer vaccination series is available to children aged 6 months to under 5 years old. So please be sure to talk with a trusted healthcare professional if you have questions or concerns. And our public health nurse line is available still. You can give us a call, 503-842-3940. Boosters are available as well. So everyone aged 5 years old and older should get 1 booster after completing their vaccine primary series. And those aged 50 and older and those immunocompromised should get 2 booster doses. Vaccines and boosters are available at our health center by appointment, Safeway Pharmacy, Fred Meyer Pharmacy, Tillamook Pharmacy, and our partners at Adventist Health and the Halem Bay Health Center. Any other questions regarding COVID-19, or if you need additional support, please give us a call, 503-842-3940. And our public health nurses will return calls within 24 business hours. So that is our update there. We'll turn it back over to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that very much. Any questions for Ed Colson? Thank you for being with us, Ed. Let's move on to the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. Gail Nelson. Gail, are you with us?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, and I would like to thank Representative Weber for mentioning the Tillamook County Wellness. The Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy is also partnering with that organization and that wellness initiative. For example, today is Tuesday, and again, our North County Walking Group will be meeting. We meet at a different location each week. Please visit the ReinhardtKlinik.org or Reinhardt Clinic on Facebook for information, location each week. Today we're meeting in Manzanita on Lanita Avenue at 9 o'clock a.m. And a couple more announcements. Thank you very much. COVID vaccines for children on Fridays. We have a supply of Moderna vaccines for 6 months to age 4 range, as well as Pfizer children's doses for ages 5 to 11. And of course, we're still offering doses and boosters for any adults who need them. Please give us a call at 800-368-5182 to schedule an appointment, or if you have any questions or concerns. And those are my announcements for this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gail. Appreciate you being here. Any questions for Gail? Thanks again. It's my understanding that Frank Tanner Williams with Tillamook Family Counseling Center cannot be with us this morning. So let's move on to the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Brown, are you with us?
Good morning, I am here.
Good morning.
So as promised, I have stats available for weekend, 4th of July weekend. It was a busy weekend, lots of parades, lots of community events, and of course it was the 4th of July. So, excuse me, I would like to share those stats with everybody. Like I said last week, I promised to have those available. So our total calls and the length of time that I did in our stats is basically all day Saturday to the end of Monday. So it's the full 3-day weekend. It does not include Friday. It just simply includes Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. The total number of calls that our deputies responded to or initiated was 279 in those 3 days. By comparison, Memorial Weekend, which was the same group of time, a Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, obviously a holiday weekend as well. The number of calls for service that we responded to or initiated was 182. So we almost had 100 more calls in that 3-day period for 4th of July weekend. We responded to 4 disturbances. Memorial Weekend was also 4 disturbances. There were 8 motor vehicle accidents or recreational accidents. That's up from Memorial Weekend, which only had 5. We responded to or had 25 calls for service related to fireworks complaints or fireworks. Obviously, during Memorial Weekend, it's not as busy for fireworks. We had 0 calls for fireworks. 5 arrests were made in the July 4th weekend compared to 2 arrests. 44 traffic stops were made on Memorial Weekend, and that number is up for July 4th weekend, which was 63. So as you can see, most of our the stats or some of the main stats that we grabbed in order to kind of let the public know how busy we were. Obviously, they were up from a normal weekend, and they were also up from Memorial Weekend. So it was definitely a busy 4th of July weekend. I do also believe that a lot of the campsites, because I was out helping and working and looking at the county a little bit, I know there was a lot of empty spots in a lot of the campgrounds. So I believe that the timing of the 4th of July weekend, or the actual day of 4th of July being a Monday, we actually had a lot of people leave town in order to get back home, I'm assuming to go back to work. So there was a lot of things that indicated that there were less people here by the time Monday rolled around. But again, our call volume did not slow down. It actually increased significantly. So in other news, if you follow our social media page, we did a release over an incident from this weekend. There was a report of a violent crime, and When deputies responded, they ultimately started a suspicious death investigation, and it was determined that it was a homicide. A suspect was arrested and charged with murder. That suspect is still in custody and has seen the judge. As more information comes out, we may be able to release more, but a lot of that is still kind of, it depends on the investigation because it is still open. The basic information is in our press release, which is on our social media page. I'm certain that most people are aware that this happened, and if they weren't, this is kind of another release for those listening on today's call. We had a tremendous amount of resources put towards that. We had Oregon State Police assisting. We had the crime lab from Oregon State Police come down and help process the scene. Manzanita, major crimes were called out. Manzanita Police, I believe that Nehalem Fire played a big part in helping us as well. I actually was not on scene. I attended the debrief on Sunday afternoon. We have a great team that has an amazing ability to complete major crime investigations like this, and this was no different. They did a great job, and they are working it and continue to work it. So a lot of resources, but we still had calls that we had to handle, and it was obviously a significant event. So with that, I can take questions, but that's all I have to report on today.
Thank you, Sheriff Brown. Appreciate that very much. Any questions for Sheriff Brown? Thank you for being with us, Sheriff. Let's move on to emergency management. Randy Thorpe. Randy.
Good morning.
Morning.
I kind of wanted to bring up for this week, as part of our county's natural hazard mitigation plan update, the steering committee is holding open houses within the county. And what they're looking for is some public input and to also answer any questions concerning the process. The main thing is the committee is wanting to know if the risk of damage and displacement from the natural hazards identified really reflect the community's perception of those risks. And if not, they would definitely want that input on what the communities feel are the highest risks that they face in natural hazards. Last night, that open house was held at the Garibaldi City Hall. Tonight, they'll be moving north up to Nehalem Bay Fire and Rescue Station, and that will be in Nehalem from 6 to 8 p.m. So those who live in the north end of the county, please attend that meeting and give that necessary input that they're looking for. And then next week on July 20th, the open house will move to the south part of the county. It'll be held at the Nestucca Rural Fire District there in Hebo, again, 6 to 8 p.m. And again, I encourage all the residents in the south end of the county to attend and give this steering committee some valuable input as they put the finishing touches on this mitigation plan. And that's all I have for now.
Great, Randy. Thank you so much for being here. Unfortunately, I will be out of town on Wednesday the 20th and will not be able to attend in Hebo, and I do apologize for that. Any questions for Randy? Thank you, Randy. Let's move on to the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Bell, let's start with you.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Well, I appreciate Representative Weber talking about Tom Wad, and I just want to offer my condolences to his family. He was a wonderful person and a pillar of the community, and it's hard to imagine him not being involved in everything, in the boards and groups that we're all active in, and he will just be very much missed. So thank you to Tom. God bless, and I just hope when we lose somebody really significant like that in our community, I think about young people and middle-aged people, and I wonder who's going to step up and take that person's place, or who's going to grow into that level of community participation. So I hope that people are thinking about that, because those of us who are left need to take up the mantles of the people who've gone before us, and if we don't, then our community will be a lesser place. So I'm just sending that call out for community service. And I wanted to talk for a minute about COVID because there's Peter Graven from OHSU indicated in a report I listened to earlier this week that the BA2 variant is, or the BA5 variant, that as Ed Colton mentioned a few minutes ago, that the rates of COVID are expected to increase. And I also read some reports about the BA5 variant being potentially more dangerous in terms of disease severity. And so I just really wanted to encourage folks who, for whatever reason, haven't gotten vaccinated yet or haven't gotten boosted yet to consider it, because the numbers are very clear. We've been with COVID for a couple of years now, and the numbers are very clear that unvaccinated people are far more likely to die. You can just Google. You can Google search. I did. Percentage of people who died from COVID who are unvaccinated or vaccinated. And I pulled up an article from Scientific American last month, June 2022, that said that unvaccinated people 12 years and older had 17 times the rate of COVID-associated deaths. And, so it's substantial. And I just really worry about our neighbors who are unvaccinated. So, and also there's all kinds of information now, because we've had time to look at it statistically, that shows that people who are vaccinated are far better protected, and also people who are boosted are far better protected. And so the vaccinations are working. They're not working 100%, but they're substantially working. And so I hope that all of our friends and neighbors will just do everything they can to keep themselves safe, because obviously we're not out of the COVID woods yet. I also wanted to mention fire season. The burning ban starts July 15, so there's only a couple more days for your backyard barrel burning, and also the voucher program, the FireWise voucher program that is funded through Oregon Department of Forestry in partnership with the Tillamook County Solid Waste Department. You can get rid of your backyard, your landscape debris at the transfer stations. You can get a voucher to get rid of that stuff for free, and that starts on the 15th. A lot of local people have taken advantage of that over the past number of years, and the program is later in starting this year, so we've had a lot of inquiries about it, but it starts the day of the burn ban, so that also starts on the 15th, and I encourage everybody to take advantage of that. And finally, I just wanted to mention, I was thinking about roads, that Highway 53, there's still, ODOT is repaving Highway 53, and there are delays, and so if you are someone who drives Highway 53 like I am, you may want to drive 101 until that's over, because I found the delay to be lengthy. So, but I think it'll be over next week. So that's all I have for this morning. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Bell. How about Commissioner Scar?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Yamamoto. We have talked about Tom Watt, and I would be remiss to not put in my condolences to his family as well. I had the pleasure of serving with Tom on the Tillamook Kiwanis for many years, and as Commissioner Bell stated, he was a leader in this community in his engagement, in his participation, and his philanthropy. I mean, he really was one of the people that we looked up to really say, this is what Tillamook is about. It's about people who participate and give of themselves. So he will be very, very significantly missed by all of us. And I appreciate her call to action for all of us to think about where will we step in to honor the work that Tom Watt has done for years, and to continue to do that. So again, condolences to Tom's family. A couple of things I just want to highlight. So we had a Housing Commission meeting this last week and had a really exciting presentation from a local couple in Bay City that has some property, and they're interested in doing housing along with some business incubation And it's very preliminary stages, so I won't say any more than that. But it's very exciting as we hear from local people who have property and have a vision and just aren't sure how to make that vision a reality. What's exciting is that with the Housing Commission, with some of the funding that the county has, we have Thomas Fiorelli, who's our housing coordinator. And this couple has been meeting with Thomas, or TJ, as he goes by, for a couple of months now, really exploring with his support what's possible, what would need to be done for that property to become housing with business incubation. What does that look like? TJ's helping connect them to other people in the community that can help, such as Terry Cooper at the Small Business Development Center. So I use this as a shout out to anyone who might be listening, who's sitting on a piece of property and thinking, I'd love to be part of the solution for our community. I would love to find a way to have housing for those who want to live and work here and continue to be the heart of our community, but I really have no idea where to begin or if it's even possible. And what I would suggest is if you reach out to the Community Development Department and ask for TJ, he is ready to meet with people and to talk about your specific and particular piece of property, how it's zoned, where it's situated, what capacity you already have with, sewer, water, etc. Whether it perhaps is a piece of property that was once industrial and needs some investigation to make sure there's no contamination. The county has some resources for Brownsfield to do that kind of investigation. So we're really kind of just making this call out to people. We know that there are local folks who have property that have ideas and thoughts, but just maybe aren't sure where to begin. So I just want to invite everyone to don't wait, reach out, chat with TJ and see what your property might be able to do to contribute to the community and to your own vision. So that's Housing Commission. The other thing about Housing Commission, we have opened up our first round of grants for developers. And these grants are for multifamily housing, which we have defined as 3 units or more. So if you have a piece of property and you're thinking you'd like to build a triplex, but financially you've looked at it and said, I can't make it work. I can't rent it for enough for what I would build it. If you go to the Community Development webpage, to the Housing Commission tab, there is an application and you can apply for some funding to augment what you have to make your project pencil. So we're really excited. This is our first release of grant application, and it'll be our first round of funding. We hope that we will have annual rounds of funding. So again, if you are out there and you're thinking, I want to build something, but I've checked the numbers out and it won't pencil. If it's a triplex or above, check out that application. And you can reach out to TJ and talk with him about it as well. So just good things happening at the Housing Commission to really work toward making an impact on our housing crisis. Shifting gears to, let's go to short-term rentals. So I know this is a hot topic in our community. We currently have the pause on applications to get a short-term rental permit. We expect that we will have some numbers very soon about the number of permit applications that came in right before that pause. I expect it was a very large number, which we anticipated. So we will be looking at that as we look at the ordinance and what changes we're making. There is a short-term rental advisory committee today. It begins at 9:30. It is at the library. You can attend virtually or in person. Today, we are hearing from 4 groups in the community that have organized around short-term rentals and what they would like to see in their communities for short-term rentals. And these are unincorporated communities of Tillamook County, which is where the ordinance applies. So it will be a panel discussion today from folks who have really been surveying their community members, doing some good committee work to share what they want in their community. So we can include that in our ordinance work. So again, it starts at 9:30 this morning at the library, or you can go online to Community Development page. Once again, you can find, in this case, the Short-Term Rental Committee tab, and it will have a link for the meeting if you would like to listen virtually. And there was always public comment at the end of these meetings. So that's short-term rentals. And then I'm going to shift gears to Highway 6 and the Northwest Act, which is the Northwest Area Commission on Transportation. The Northwest Act will be meeting this Thursday, July 14th from 1 to 3. And this is a virtual meeting only. You can find the link to this meeting if you are interested on the internet at the Northwest Act page with it, which is nwact.nworegon.org. You can also just search NWACT, and I find it every time very quickly that way. The reason you might want to attend is that they have the preliminary findings on the Highway 6 investigation. You can download the meeting packet and take a look at the maps that they've put together. I just was skimming through it this morning. It's really interesting. They give a lot of information about the slide on Highway 6, a lot of information about what has been done already over the last 20 years to try to address the slide. And then they give some very high level options and costs to doing a more intensive fix for the slide area. So this, as far as I know, is the first place that this information is coming out. And I know there's a lot of interest. So I encourage people, again, Thursday, July 14th, 1 to 3:30 is the full meeting. You can get the link and the package of materials online. And I do sit on that committee, and I will give a more complete report in the coming weeks after I have had their presentation given to me. So more to come, but please feel free to join us as well. It's a great opportunity. With that, I will turn it back to you, Chair Yamamoto. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar. Appreciate it very much. So for my report, as I spoke with Representative Gomberg before he had to leave, we were invited to present to the Oregon Coastal Caucus. The we is Laura Wilkinson from Hampton and myself, and we talked about the ODF, Oregon Department of Forestry Habitat Conservation Plan that's moving forward. And I just need to say that all four of Tillamook County's state legislators were there. Representative Gomberg, Representative Weber, Senator Anderson, Senator Armitage, they were all present, and we do appreciate the audience so much. The Habitat Conservation Plan is really something that it has the ability to hurt a lot of rural counties, Tillamook County being one of those. It's just my feeling that in Oregon right now, Oregon is at a tipping point. Over the past couple of decades, we have lost so many mills in the state of Oregon. We're at an inflection point, and soon we may be in a death spiral. And this HCP is not helping that at all. It is anticipated that timber harvest is going to go down dramatically with this HCP, should it be put into place. And with all of the lumber companies, forest management companies out there doing a terrific job in managing private timberlands that they own for harvest. It's going to get to the point, if we lose many more mills in the state of Oregon, they're going to throw up their hands. They're going to give up on Oregon, and that's going to create a death spiral. And that is something that we absolutely do not want to see because of all the, not only just the timber revenue, but the family wage fully benefited jobs that come with them. So it's just a couple of examples here. In Clatsop County, they have the potential of going from a current average harvest of about $24 million a year in timber revenue that they get down to $19 million a year. Tillamook County, we're currently averaging about $19 million a year in timber harvest. We probably will go down to less than $16 million a year. That's a lot of money. And people think, well, Dave, what do the counties do with all that money? Well, you need to understand, and I'll give you these two examples. In Clatsop County, they have 27 special districts that receive the vast majority of that timber revenue. In Tillamook County, we have 20 special districts that receive the vast majority of the timber county. And because I'm very familiar with Tillamook, I can tell you that roughly 77 to 78% of the timber revenue we receive from ODF goes to special districts. The other 22% roughly stays with the county. One of the biggest benefactors of special district timber revenue in Tillamook County is the Neoconi School District. Currently, on average, they're getting maybe a little over $4 million a year. They're projected to go down to less than $2 million a year in state forest timber revenue. So these are all things that it's just scary what might be happening here. This HCP, this Habitat Conservation Plan, it's basically a contract with the federal government, basically with NOAA Fisheries and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It's a 70-year contract. And that's one of those scariest parts about this. It really is. We're going to see probably a 25 to 30% reduction in harvest levels, probably over 50 million board feet a year. And we don't feel that the HCP was developed with adequate socioeconomic analysis. Just to give you an example, the EIS, the Environmental Impact Statement that just came out, assumes 3 jobs for every million board feet of harvest. Well, the Department of Forestry and OFRI assumes over 11 jobs per million board feet. Let's just look at some examples. The Environmental Impact Statement says there are 152 timber-related jobs in Clatsop County. Well, the Hampton Mill in Warrenton alone employs 173 people. The EIS, Environmental Impact Statement, says that 32,700 people are employed in the forest sector statewide. OFRI says there are well over 70,000 people employed. All the information that's coming out of this HCP and the Habitat Conservation Plan, we keep asking for more information. How did they arrive with the numbers that they're using? And honestly, we're not getting much in the way of answers. So it's very difficult for us to deal with the state at times. The HCP also, one of the questions that we asked at the last FTLAC meeting of the department was, once this HCP goes into effect, the decrease in revenue is absolutely going to hit the trust counties very hard, but it's also going to affect the department. The department is truly a self-funded department, except for fire fighting costs. Their anticipated budget, the ODF budget, is anticipated to go down by almost 50%. And so we asked the question, so what plans do you have in place if this HCP should go into effect for 70 years? What plans do you have in place to make up that lost revenue, to support the department? And they said, well, at this point, they have no plan. But that to me is just incomprehensible. It is that knowing what they know about what this HCP is going to do to timber harvest and timber revenue, and again, the department keeps over 36% of the timber revenue to fund the department. And yet they've got no plan moving forward. They haven't thought about how they're going to fund themselves once this HCP goes into effect. The counties can't do that. We have to take a very clear look at what's going to happen to our revenues. And in Tillamook County, the special district revenue. I'm talking to special districts all the time and trying to keep them up to speed on what's going on. And all of our special districts in Tillamook County are very concerned. So that's just one of the things I'm working on. Next week, I'm heading to Denver for the NACO, the National Association of Counties annual conference, where I will be presenting a resolution for NACO concerning the NOAA Fisheries FEMA buyout. I know you've heard me talk about that so much. We've got some momentum going here, and hopefully with some success in Denver, we're going to be able to talk to not only our federal legislators for Oregon, but legislators nationwide as to how this nationwide rollout of the NOAA Fisheries FEMA biological opinion is going to happen. So I'll leave it at that, and appreciate everyone listening. Let's move on to the cities. Now, it's my understanding that Mayor Mike Scott from Manzanita is not able to be with us today, but I was told that Steve Nuttall with City Council is with us. Steve?
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Well, it is my pleasure to serve as a stand-in of sorts to Manzanita Mayor Scott, who is unable to be here today but wanted to send along his greetings. Things, of course, are well in Manzanita. We have lots of visitors in town, and so we're dealing with that. But along with that, we're also embarking on a number of new initiatives under the direction of our city manager, Layla Almond, who, by the way, just celebrated her first-year anniversary with Manzanita. We're thrilled with that. On Wednesday, we selected a consultant to assist us in our Budget Forward initiative, which will kick off with a committee of citizens who will work to evaluate all of our funding sources, along with identifying opportunities for additional revenue streams. It's an effort really to diversify our funding sources away from what has really been an over-reliance on TLT monies. In addition to the committee, we have engaged the firm of Eco Northwest to help facilitate the process, including a historical review of our budget to identify budgetary pressure points and identifying a revenue option catalog, along with providing a revenue projection and evaluation. As you can imagine, we're pretty excited about this initiative. I'm not sure how many folks know this, but Oregon's Measure 5 and 50, although it's been a number of years ago, hit our city particularly hard. Manzanita has the fourth lowest property tax rate in the state, and property tax revenues for us only, well, they generate a very small portion of our general fund budget. And we found out during COVID how significant that shut down the short-term rental program. So we're excited about this project. We're hoping to identify some alternative funding sources and streams and help measure up our budget so that we can respond appropriately. And that's really all I have for today.
Well, Steve, I appreciate you being here very much. Thank you for the report. Let's go on to the city of Nehalem. Do we have Melissa Thompson-Kiefer with us? Hi, good morning. How are you?
Well, thank you. But I have missed the past couple of meetings, so I wanted to acknowledge the loss of another longtime community leader, and that is Dale Stockton of Nehalem, who passed away June 22nd. He was a Nehalem business owner and served on the Nehalem City Council for over 48 years. Dale was truly a dedicated public service, and so we're certainly feeling the loss of Dale Stockton. I also just wanted to reiterate what Randy mentioned regarding the meeting tonight for the Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan Update Open House. So again, encourage the public to attend that this evening at the Nehalem Bay Fire and Rescue District from 6 to 8 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do appreciate the report, and yes, Dale Stockton was another pillar of the community, and he definitely will be missed. He will. Let's move on to the city of Wheeler. Do we have Mayor Honeycutt with us? Rockaway Beach, Mayor Wilson? Garibaldi, Mayor Hall.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Hey, good morning.
Yes. First of all, I would like to recognize the fantastic job that our city manager, Juliet Hines, has done over the last year. She was hired last year in July and has helped the city address the financial irregularities and audit deficiencies that have plagued the city for over a few years. She's also been involved in helping the city get grants to pave our streets and also for pedestrian safety and the Highway 101 improvements that have been rescheduled for spring of 2024. So Garibaldi is headed on the right track, and it's all thanks to Juliet Hines. And we're looking forward to everyone coming to Garibaldi Days on July 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. That's all I have today.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. Appreciate that report very much. Bay City, Mayor McCall, are you with us? City of Tillamook. So it's my understanding that Nathan George cannot be with us today. Let's go to South County. Doug Olson. Doug. I'm meeting Doug at 9:30 for a Tillamook Lightwave meeting, so I bet you he's on his way. So, anything for the good of the order? Hearing none, I want to thank everyone for attending today, but special thanks to KTIL for broadcasting. Time being 9:01 a.m. We will adjourn this community update. Thank you, everyone.